Everybody, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. Once again, it's Tuesday, and we're going to dive into another topic. DIY cuts the cost of living. It's expensive out here. We all know that. We're all experiencing what that means, right? It's real talk right here. So we're going to discuss why this channel is so important, uh, not just in terms of skill building, but in terms of just basically giving you, empowering you to save money in these trying times, right? I mean, with everything else going on in the world, the last thing we needed was groceries to be high and fuel to be high, all that stuff, right? So we're going to dive into why um, being able to just use tools, right? Yeah, exactly. Use tools like I teach on this channel is so important, and it can save you a hell of a lot of money. Okay, but before we get into it, let me ask you something, guys. How many of you have gotten a quote from a contractor recently? Right? If you can come in later in the replay and answer. It doesn't matter. Um, but if you have, you've probably been taken aback when you saw the quote they gave you. Right? $800 to paint a room, $2,000 to patch some drywall, or whatever crazy number that they throw at you because they know you don't know how to do anything, and they're just gonna get you for whatever they can, right? That's just been the name of the game for the longest time. And part of the reason that is because you don't know. They're right. You don't know how to do it yourself. And in this live, I really want to push this channel and why it's so important. Why I push tools and DIY and all that stuff, right? Because it can be the difference between like having something to eat at the end of the day or having a big hole in your wall that hasn't been fixed yet. That can cause a whole bunch of problems. So, but if you know how to do it yourself, you have the basic skills, that wouldn't be a problem, right? So basically, the gap between people who know how to use tools. I mean, people who save money, okay, and and people who know how to use tools is just that skill gap. That's all it is. But it does add up to a wealth gap as well, right? Because the anytime you hire somebody out, just like I said, and you got to pay, a contractor, whoever, handyman, you're going to end up coming out of pocket, okay? And that's over time, cumulatively, over the lifetime of your home or just your lifetime, whatever home you live in, um, that's going to add up, right? That's going to add up. So you can think of it as a wealth gap, right? And that gap is the skills. It's filled with. Do you know how to use do it yourself? Do you know how to use these tools or not? Right. That's the gap. Okay, that adds up to a lot of dollars that's going down. I wouldn't say going down the drain, but if you just took time to just take a class or a course or watch my channel, you wouldn't have to spend all that money. Okay, so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. All right, so let's start off here to kind of preface what I'm getting at here. So we know, just like I stated, the cost of living right now is pretty harsh, right? I mean, everything's going up. I mean, like I said, housing costs, groceries, everything is shooting through the roof, right? And God forbid if something breaks, right? Let's just say everything's fine, your car is running fine, your house is okay, everything. But let's just say something breaks, your HVAC system goes out, right? Yeah, okay, I know some things you will require a contractor. I get it. But let's just say you need to change the oil or something breaks on your car. That's right there. That's where the rubber meets the road, and that's going to mean the difference between you coming out of pocket or you knowing how to do it yourself, right? And so that's a very serious consideration when you think about it. Okay, so you either have three options. You can either call a contractor, right? And spend money that you don't have. You can leave it, okay, alone, try to ignore it. Like, let's just say something happened in your house and you try to ignore it, but the more you ignore it, the worse it can get, right? And say the value of, say, your home, right, can actually drop by you ignoring a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed around there. So you can do that, right, and just pretend like it's not there. All right. Or you can learn how to do it yourself. I created this channel for, mostly tool tutorials you see on this channel. Every now and then I do something, a project or something, but it's mostly focused on tool tutorials. Right. But that's the option that I'm kind of steering people towards. Know how to do it yourself, or at least know the basics, right? And I know a lot of people are scared, right? They're scared of tackling a problem themselves, right? They watch the YouTube videos. They may get advice from somebody at Home Depot or somewhere, but they're still scared, right? They're still apprehensive. Okay, they don't want to touch it. It's not their thing, and I get it. It's not for everybody, but the more fear you have, okay, it's just gonna make things worse. So, I'm all about building confidence in you so you can actually at least start and approach a project and you'll realize a lot of the stuff is not as hard as you think, right? Yeah, there's some things that will require, like say you need to do something with the electrical panel, or is it something like that? You want to call in the pros for that. But there's a lot of other things, like say minor things like changing a socket out, or putting a new shower head in, installing something like that. These things can be done. It's not hard at all, right? I put different videos out on the channel showing you how to do these things. But you got to get over that fear, right? Because at the end of the day, it's costing you. It's costing you more than you really need to spend. And when you call a contractor or a handyman out there, and you think that you're paying for the skill that they have, right? But what you're really paying for is the labor time that they put in, okay? They're charging you per hour or whatever. That's labor time that they're charging you. And they're also charging you for, they're charging you, they're marking it up pretty much, okay, their services. So you may end up paying a whole bunch of money for something that needed to be done, and it may not even be done properly, right? So you're not necessarily paying for the skill. They're not charging you for that because you really don't know how skillful they are. You see them, you go on Google or whatever, and you look somebody up and you say, okay, yeah, because you're desperate, right? I need this done right now. I can't take it anymore, right? You don't know how skillful that person is unless you read the reviews or whatever, right? But for the most part, you don't know how skillful they are until they do it. They can look really good online, right? But they can actually be some of the worst people that you could ever hire, right? So just saying, right? So know what you're paying for. And, if you know how to do it yourself, right? At least know the basics of what the problem is and how to approach it. You can maybe get half of the job done before, and then call somebody in, right? Stuff that you can't, it's too much for you, then call the pros in, right? At least you get started. And that's the thing about it. It's so at the end of the day, it's more about independence, right? Independence from having to call somebody out there who's going to charge you an arm and a leg for something that you could have at least approached yourself, and you could have kept a bunch of money in your pocket. Okay, so let's see here. Let me give you an example. All right, let's just say you need to do a paint job, an exterior paint job on your house, right? A contractor could come in there and quote you whatever. He can quote you whatever price. Let's just say he's quoting you like $8,000. Now, the materials may cost maybe $300 to $600, right? And a sprayer like say the one on this channel that's one of my most popular videos, the Graco X5 paint sprayer, that can run you maybe $200 to $400, but that's just a one-time payment, okay? So let's just say you do that job yourself. You watch a few videos, you watch my video, you know how to use that, use it. After you watch the video, you'll definitely know how to use it properly. And that's all, that's all you really spent is, right? It's your own time. You spent the money on the materials, with the paint or whatever. And then the machine, right? I said, what, up to $600 and maybe up to $400 for the machine. That's just $1,000. Now, if somebody's charging you $8,000 or $3,000 to $8,000, You know how much money you just saved by doing it yourself? Thousands of dollars. Okay, so that's just knowledge, right? So that's just knowledge you gained from watching a video, getting familiar with the tools, and getting out there and trying your hand at it. One thing I like about what I do is that when I read the comments, right, there's a lot of people in the comments saying how much the videos have helped them, right? And really, that's my goal, is to help you approach a project, be more confident in the tools that you're going to use. Because once you know how to use the tools, I would say that's 85% of it. The rest of it is maybe just technique that you can touch up, right? It's almost like driving a car. Once you know how to use it, once you know how to drive it, right? That's it. Game over. You already know, right? And then everything from there is downhill in terms of knowledge, right? Or in terms of skill. All right. You get the basics down, and you can just improve from there incrementally. You don't have to become a race car driver just because I taught you how to drive a car, or you learned how to drive a car. But you're good enough to get to function in the world, and you have now your whole world is widened now, right? Because now your living experience is just not confined to a certain area. You got a car now, right? So you can travel across the country if you want, right? It's the same with tools, right? Once you know the basics of tools, then you can approach pretty much any project, right? Any project, and it depends on how much you want to learn, how far you want to go with it, right? Say you learn the basics of welding, for example. You can go build a fence, or you can build some really intricate metal work or machinery, right? So that's what I'm saying. Once you learn the basics, it opens up to you, okay? And that's the magic of being able to do things yourself. All right. Now, why do they charge you so much anyway? Right? So you hire somebody and they come in and they drop this astronomical price on you to do this particular job, and you're wondering, why does the thing cost so much? Well, it kind of ties back into what I've been talking about on this channel forever, which is the skills trade shortage, right? There's not enough skilled trades people to go around. Okay, so that's a supply and demand issue, right? Now I always talk about how shop class got cut from schools. All the vocational tech schools have been, people, it always had that stigma, right? It still hasn't gone away. It definitely has improved, right? But it hasn't gone away. So you have a generation of young people, okay, who were told to go to college and get a job, okay? And look what we're left with right now. We're left with this big shortage of really, skilled tradespeople who are responsible for just keeping the infrastructure of the, of wherever you live up, right? Not to mention just the regular tradesmen who own their own business. Okay, they could be plumbers, electricians, or whoever, carpenters, right? They're out there, right? But it's not enough for them to go around. So, but the ones who are out there doing it, because there's such a shortage and people, there's so much needed right now. They can pretty much call their own shots, right? In terms of what they can charge you, right? And so it's looking good for them, but it's not looking good for you. Okay. Now the trades are coming back, right? I would like to say because of individuals like myself who get on here and promote it. But there's still, a shortage out there. And so when you run into somebody, right, or you need somebody to do something for you, they actually feel very confident charging you those exorbitant fees on their or rates for what you want them to do, because there's not a lot of them out there, right? So this is another reason why I push DIY, because if you are a DIYer, you're extracting yourself from that ecosystem where you have to call somebody else in to do it, and you don't know if you're going to be able to afford it or not, right? That's the importance of. I mean, it shows the importance of learning how to do things yourself, right? Guys, hope you follow me on this one. So, for example, if you know how to use whatever, any paint sprayer, miter saw, tile cutter, all the tools I talk about on this channel, you save money right off the bat, okay? The minute you start watching these videos, learning, right? Going out there and getting maybe a used tool or renting something, working on a project yourself, you're actually saving money when you do those things. Did you know that? Because you're picking up a skill. The more skills you pick up, the more money you put in your pocket. And that goes for anything in life, any industry where you're relying on yourself, not others that you have to pay to do it. Get it? So that's why, like I said, I'm very, very excited to see people in the comments, even if it's the smallest thing that they've learned, right, from watching the channel to help them in a project or something like that, then for me, it's all worth it, okay? It's all worth it, okay? So that's why I show up here and do what I do. All right, so let's talk about why this is so important in terms of financial empowerment, right? Like I said, putting more money in your pocket and closing that wealth gap, okay? So let's see here. It says, people with resources, they keep their homes up. They repaint every few years. They fix things before they become big problems. They protect their investments. And over time, the home builds wealth. The value goes up, the equity builds. People who don't have that knowledge or that culture, small things become big things. A paint job that needed $400 in materials becomes $3,000, a $3,000 repair because moisture got in. A small crack becomes a structural issue, right? So basically what it's saying here is that, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about maintenance, okay? If you really want to destroy your wealth, let's just say you own a lot of properties, or you could even own a car, or even just one house, it doesn't really matter. But if you own anything physical, it has to be maintained, right? And the more you ignore something that needs to be fixed, or you just leave it sitting, the more it's eating into your pocket. So you think it's just sitting there, it's just going to be, you know, it's fine, it's sitting there, it's an asset that I have. And, you know, you don't ignore it. I mean, you don't take care of it. You don't look after it, right? Every second of the day that you ignore that thing, it's decreasing in value because something, it's not being maintained. Okay, so once you understand that, you know, you start looking at things differently, right? You start looking at everything you own differently, and what do you need to keep those things up, right? So the more you own, the more you're going to need people to maintain that, right? So it's going to come out of pocket anyway. So, but that's part of the cost of having that thing. So there's nothing that you own that's physical that you can just leave alone and ignore. Even in the health arena, right? Your body, right? If you ignore your body, you know, and you say, "Oh, I have it," guess what? It's gonna, you know, things are gonna start showing up because you didn't maintain it. You didn't work out. You didn't exercise, whatever. And next thing you know, you're spending thousands of dollars because you came down with some kind of illness, or, you know, something happened because you ignore it, right? So it's maintenance is actually a wealth builder. Maintenance puts money in your pocket. Deferred maintenance, meaning that you waited, you know, that's one of the sneakiest ways of stealing your money, right? Nobody else is stealing your money. It's just that you're ignoring that thing, and it's taking money out of your pocket. So that's definitely not a way of empowering yourself financially when you ignore what you have, right? And you don't take care of it. Okay. So you have to be able to protect your investments. And if you look at my channel from a broader perspective, that's what my channel is about, right? It's about protecting your investments. It's about maintenance. And you need tools to do that, right? You need tools to do that. And that's why I'm here. Okay. So what is the payoff? Okay. What is the payoff at the end of the day? I think it's pretty much self-explanatory, guys. You know, everything I said really doesn't mean anything unless you have the actual skills to um, perform the maintenance on your stuff, or repair things, fix things, or even build things. Right? Those skills are critical to what this whole discussion right now. Without the skills, right, then what I'm saying actually you might as well just don't even listen to it. Okay. So the goal is to push you towards having that do-it-yourself mentality as much as you can. Okay. I know some people say, "Oh, well, I don't have time," or whatever. Fine. I mean, if you don't have time, it's either you do it, or like I said, or somebody else is gonna do it, and you're gonna have to come out of pocket. And if you got that kind of money, cool. But the average person today, living in this economy, dealing with what's going on a daily basis, because every time you step out of your house, you're spending money. The average person really can't afford to pay people all the time, right? So it's really, in my opinion, you're gonna have to know how to do it yourself. You're gonna have to know how to use these tools. You're gonna have to, put aside your fears and get confident and do it, right? And you'll be surprised on what you can do. Like I said, go read the comments on my videos. And all, whether it's just a little, like I said, a little piece of knowledge someone got that changed their whole perspective on things, and they say they're confident. I'm talking about pro trades people that have been in the trades way longer than I have, and probably know a lot more than I do, have learned something from this channel. And that's the great thing about the Calibrate community. Okay, that's the community that I'm building. By the way, guys, I'm coming out with a power tool course for you guys, basic power tools, put it all together. It's just a combination of my power tool videos that I've already done, and with adding a little spice to it for you guys. Okay. So look out for that. If you want to get notified when I put it out, it should be coming out, I would say, in the next month and a half tops. All right. Go down there and sign up for the email list right now, or at least at the end of the live. The link is there. And it says newsletter or something like that. Join.calibrate.com. Click on that, or just go to calibrate.com and you find it there, and be notified for when I drop that course on you guys, because I've been wanting for the longest time to put something together for you guys, so you won't have to search all over the internet for this, that, and the other. It's going to be organized in different categories for you, and it's going to be great. Okay, so look out for that. Okay, because I really want to build a community on here, because I have a community in the comments, but it's just comments on the videos. But I consider that the Calibrate family. If you've learned something from this video, from my content, you're part of the Calibrate family. Okay, I want you to really feel welcomed here. And I know a lot of times I talk about on the lives, I talk about social issues on that and all that stuff. I'm not excluding anybody, but coming from sometimes my perspective won't allow me to be so limited, because to me what I do has a much broader reach than just tools, right? Tools is the angle that I'm coming at, but it's all about independence and empowerment, okay, and freedom. I want you guys to understand it. Freedom, okay? That's what it's about. All right. So yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys, tonight. At the end of the day, like I said, it's about knowing that you're building something. Every time you pick up a tool, you're building something that's real, right? Something that I don't care if you're fixing something or building something. It's not an abstract concept. You did that thing, right? You can look at it and say, yeah, I did that. Okay, that's very important. And that's why I really, I focus on the youth a lot, right? I do out here in the community. Whenever I get the chance, I try to expose the youth to tools and to the trades and all the opportunities that are there for them, if they're willing to, if they're attracted to it. Everybody's not going to be attracted to it, but that's not my job to make someone attracted to it. My job is just to expose them, right, to it, right, and see where they go from there, right? Because if you want to build a community, right, let's just say you want to go out there and build a community, you're gonna need builders. You not just bookworms, all right. You're gonna need people that use their hands as well as their head to build something from scratch, from the ground up. Okay, and this whole channel is about doing my part in realizing that, for people. Okay. So anyway, guys, that's it for tonight. I appreciate you coming on here, and I hope you got something from this. Look out for that course, okay, that I'm getting ready to drop on you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.